In previous episodes, we have discussed instrument care for strings, voice, brass, and woodwinds. That pretty much leaves percussion. Grab your mallets and let's hammer this out. Welcome to Music Student 101. And now your hosts, Jeremy Burns and Matthew Scott Phillips.
Welcome back.
Hey, welcome back. It is great to be back.
It is very great to be back.
It is always great to be back and talking about music.
It's what we love to do.
It's what we love to do. Man, we have done a few episodes on instrument care.
Yes, we have.
I think we started off with strings. We talked about strings.
Yep.
And we went on to the voice.
Yep.
We did brass, and then we did woodwinds.
Yep.
And that would make this part 5. And what does that leave?
That leaves percussion.
Indeed it does. I think percussion is like a good spice in a dish. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
You could just cook white rice and put some chicken that you baked with nothing on it, and you can still get a meal.
Yeah, but isn't it a little better with a little stuff flavored on, you know?
Maybe I'm selling other accompanying instruments kind of short on that. But needless to say, I think it's a beautiful thing, and it makes music way cooler, and rhythm and pulse is kind of what part of what makes music music.
Oh, absolutely.
And brings it back to the heart.
Yeah, and percussion is good at that. Percussion is good at highlighting that aspect, obviously.
And man, there's a lot of percussion instruments out there.
Pretty much anything you can beat on can be a percussion instrument.
So a lot to cover. So let's get
all solid matter.
Yeah, really. We're going to try and break that down into categories and subcategories if we can, but we'll see how we do about that.
Try to hit the highlights.
But let's hear from some of our listeners first, shall we?
Indeed. So we got a 5-star review from Jay Morone. 5 whole stars. Thank you, Jay.
Yeah, thank you.
And Jay says, I've mostly been listening on Spotify, but I came over to iTunes to rate it here as well. Y'all's podcast has really helped me enjoy my day more, as I have an hour drive to work, and I also work in the back of a store. And I appreciate his use of y'all.
Yeah.
We have improved on the English language here in the South.
Yes, we have.
Second person plural. It works. Y'all are a joy to listen to and explain things very well. The digressions from sometimes intense music think help break up the flow into easy to listen to sections. I really appreciate the journey of progressively moving into deeper topics and building upon basic concepts like you would in class. This podcast has really helped me slowly start to understand and apply more to my playing and performing. The biggest help for me has been the ear training tips and listening to how y'all work out the motions. I'm on episode 52 now and can't wait to catch up.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, thank you so much, Jay. I'm glad it's working. You know, we try to do that, try to build on concepts as we go. It ends up with us a lot of times saying, well, you know, go back and listen to episode number whatever, you know, if you're confused about this one, right? Because it is cumulative. A lot of the stuff we're talking about these days is just super, you wouldn't want to start out there, right?
No.
Yeah, we do recommend listening chronologically. For that reason, right?
Especially for the theory and the ear training episodes.
Especially for the theory and the ear training, yeah. Listen chronologically. But, you know, it seems to be working for Jay, and hopefully it works for others. We really appreciate the positive reinforcement.
Yes, and also we do appreciate the 5-star reviews. And not to mention, this one, Jay went the extra mile and actually went to multi-platforms to vote for us a few times. He voted on iTunes and then voted,
Oh, sweet. And that does really help us out, too. It increases our visibility, as you will, get the podcast out to more people.
Yeah.
You know, doing your part to help spread the word, always a great thing. Thank you again, Jay.
Yes, we mentioned before that if you want to support us but financially can't, then leaving reviews is a great way to do it.
Absolutely.
Especially positive reviews.
Especially good ones. Talk about you.
And speaking of those who support us,
we
got a new Patreon patron named Sean Webster. Now, Sean is a 33-year-old computer engineer out of Massachusetts.
Nice.
Apparently, engineers like theory just as much as us bass players.
I think they do.
Have you noticed this, Matt?
Yeah, we've got a lot of engineer listeners, don't we?
Yeah, man. What does Sean have to say?
Sean says, "Hey guys, I figured that it's time to start paying you for the knowledge you've been bequeathing on me." Bequeathing. Love that. And love you, Sean. I took a music theory class in high school, but managed to only pass it because the future of the class required it. Mm-hmm. That's interesting. I'd love to hear that story.
His words.
I've been playing self-taught guitar off and on for the past 20 or so years, and have noticed a real increase in listenability to what I'm playing in the past year since I started relating theory, thanks to YouTube, notably Signal's Music Studio, and recently you guys. I've been binging your episodes. I'm at episode 104 for the past few months, in between audiobooks when cleaning, yard work, or doing various hobbies. I plan to go back to listen to specific music theory episodes once I am caught up. All I can say is thanks, and I hope you guys are still going by the time I am caught up. Looking forward to more episodes, Sean.
Well, that's the plan, isn't it, Matt?
That is the plan. Thank you so much. We are not out of stuff to talk about. Not yet.
Can we even outlive stuff to talk about?
I don't think so.
So we got a few good decades, hopefully, to go on this.
Yeah, we've been going for almost a decade.
Almost, yeah, man. Oh, yeah.
Almost. That's kind of crazy to think about.
It was July 17 of 2016.
So, yeah, we're a couple of years shy of a decade.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, wow. That's awesome.
What's made it awesome also is people who believe in us enough to actually financially support us, like Sean Webster.
And we are so appreciative.
If you go to our donate page on our website, you can find out how to go to Patreon and do that.
Yep.
You can go a one-time donation with PayPal.
Right.
But the Patreon patrons, we have 3 different tiers. We have the level ones, which are $1, $2 donations. They can get on the site and see the cool little bonus episodes we've done.
Yeah.
And the $3 to $4 people can get a little coffee mug or a tumbler,
Love the coffee mug.
Whatever drinkware we have on hand.
Yep.
And then the $5 more listeners can actually get their mini episode to be one of those bonus content episodes.
Where we will answer your music question specifically.
In 15 minutes or more.
And no less than 15 minutes.
Less than 15.
There hasn't been a one yet that's been cut off at 15 minutes.
We just wouldn't feel right about that, would we?
Yeah, no. I don't think we're capable. Of only talking about something. We tend to digress, dear listeners, in case you haven't noticed.
Our digressions won't allow for that. And speaking of digressions, I love it when people write in and comment about that in a positive nature.
Oh, yeah.
And one of these is our listener, Terry Boudon from Roubaix, France.
From Roubaix, France. Please excuse our horrible French pronunciation.
Lord knows we try.
Yeah.
Terry says it's always interesting to know about others somewhere around the globe with completely different lives and also enjoying this podcast and learning music. He says it makes him feel like he's a part of something.
That's so cool.
Isn't that nice?
Well, you are a part of something, Terry.
I'd like to think so.
You're a part of the Music Student 101 family.
You are now.
Absolutely.
What do you have to say, Terry?
So Terry says, I would like to express my gratitude for your work. I'm a 35 years old construction engineer from France.
Engineer.
Yeah, another one. Look at that. We're big in the engineering community.
Why is that? We gotta dig more into that.
Yeah, we do. He continues, starting music seriously 3 years ago as I've always wanted to start. I also wanted to offer a musical environment to my children, 2 years old and 2 months old. Mm-hmm. Having a music activity at home as a family would always be better than watching streaming on the couch. I agree.
Agreed.
Your podcasts are just great. They offer very understandable explanations of subjects. I find that it works better having already discovered the subject on a book than listening to your podcast for better understanding, as I'm listening to your podcast in my car. Carry on the good job.
Thank you, Terry. And I think that makes sense. This podcast was meant to be a building or an elaboration or a further exploration into whatever music text would get any student through.
Yeah, sort of a supplement for a college music course was the original idea.
Exactly.
But yeah, and we frequently recommend textbooks, websites, and other resources.
We do.
So
We do.
yeah, always good to deepen your knowledge.
But I love this approach to having your children, having music in the house with your children, real music, live music.
Oh, yeah.
That's a beautiful thing, I think.
Oh, yeah,
and
when
I
you
wonder
can make that happen, absolutely.
I wonder if Terry has heard episode 62, Children and Music.
I don't know. We should, that would be a very good one.
We'll talk more about that later on, huh?
Indeed.
Or maybe we'll do a part 2.
Hey, we should do a part 2.
Music and preteens.
Your music is stupid, Dad.
End of episode. Roll.
That's an
closing
episode.
music.
What did we learn? Our music is actually, I don't know that preteens think that to the extent that they used to about older music.
No, I'm seeing Nirvana shirts on kids that are,
Yeah, and obviously I teach college, so I'm around a lot of college students who do a lot to keep me young. I was referencing video arcades in a conversation with a couple of my students, and I realized halfway through my diatribe, I was like, you guys don't, you all don't remember video arcades.
Nah, no more than they do a phone booth.
No, but and one of them was like, "Oh, that's okay. We've seen them in movies. We know what you're talking about.
We've seen them in movies. Yeah.
Seen them in movies." Shout out to Emily Zhang, who is a big fan of the podcast and listens regularly.
Oh, well, thank you, Emily.
Yes.
Shout out to you. Now, speaking of our listeners, before we close this social section here, as we call it, I do want to mention that we have a listeners' compositions episode coming up. This is episode 136. That'll be episode 140. So that means 4 months from now, we will be doing our, 7th or 8th.
7th or 8th, yeah. I love those. Those are some of my favorite episodes.
Me too. Agreed.
Yeah.
And I only have 2 or 3 right now, so we could use a few more. If anybody has
so send
anything.
us your compositions, and we will play them and hear them and discuss them.
And don't be shy. We accept all levels of production value,
all genres,
musicality, all genres. Don't be shy.
Just definitely send us your stuff.
Put it out there. Why not? Okay, and then I guess we should go ahead and get into this episode.
Let's do,
because we do have a lot of stuff to talk about here.
We do indeed. There's plenty. So we're talking about percussion.
Exactly. And I want us to learn some fancy words, Matt, before we get into that.
Let's learn some fancy words
as they apply to the different various methods of sound production, Matt.
Fancy words. Okay.
Yeah.
Here we go. Fancy words. Well, the first fancy word would be idiophone.
Yes, these are all these instruments are all instruments are divided into these main categories.
Right, yeah. Right. An idiophone is any instrument that produces a sound by its body vibrating.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea is the contact is made directly with the instrument, no strings or membranes, no columns of air, right? You're just smacking something, basically, and that something vibrates.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the sound.
Yes.
Examples.
Yeah.
So there are pitched idiophones.
Uh-huh.
Meaning they play specific pitches, and the notes you play are part of how you play them.
Mm-hmm.
So think of, for example, a xylophone,
mm-hmm.
a vibraphone, a marimba,
mm-hmm.
or a glockenspiel.
Okay.
So those are pitched idiophones. The metal keys of these instruments, you smack them and those metal keys vibrate, right?
And if you look at them, they're all laid out like a piano, so it's based on that tonal system.
Right, yeah.
Those patterns.
Yeah, they're all tuned to the 12 pitches, in multiple octaves. The marimba is huge, spans almost the number of octaves as a piano, right? Mm-hmm. Glockenspiel is very tiny, it's very high pitched, right? That's about an octave on that instrument. And then there are the unpitched idiophones. So this is basically anything that you can hit on and it makes a sound, right? Such as shakers.
Got one right here. That's my avocado shaker,
right? Gritos.
We've seen those. It's kind of like a big old kind of bulbous kind of thing with a bunch of ridges in it.
Yeah.
It comes with a stick and it makes a sound kind of like this. The idea is you're dragging a stick over a bunch of ridges.
Right. Yeah. It's pretty awesome.
Yep.
And then there's everybody's favorite, the cowbell, of which we always need more of. Right?
Of which, yes, indeed, we do.
Wood blocks, rain stick, castanets.
Those are those little kind of hand clap.
Hand clap things. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So all of these, you see the thing about these is they are unpitched, right? You're not hitting a specific note, right? You know, what you're doing is just making a sound.
Yeah.
Right? But you're doing it by the body of the thing you're hitting is actually vibrating.
Exactly, or something within it.
Right.
Rattling it. So, Matt, I have you over there armed with two cool little instruments.
Yes.
The vibra family, as we call it.
Yes.
As I call it. The vibratone.
The vibratone, the vibratone is just this little metal cylinder here.
Uh-huh.
It's got a hole on it.
Yep.
You know, and I can hit it with this mallet.
Yeah.
Right? And when I hit it with the mallet, it does that.
It's kind of like an elaborate tuning fork.
Yeah, it's kind of like a larger, It's designed so that the sound will go out sort of the end, you know, it's big hollow metal cylinder, and one end is open, so the sound will come out that. The hole that's at the top, if I cover it with my thumb...
Yeah, it gives it a wah kind of sound.
Yeah.
Fun stuff, huh?
Fun stuff, absolutely.
And then the vibra slap, I think the band Cake is a big fan of this. I think I hear it in a lot of Cake songs.
Well, Ozzy Osbourne was on Crazy Train, I know that.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, the vibra slap.
Yeah, it's like you hit this wooden ball and then this little kind of vibrating, kind of shaking, rattling thing.
Yeah, you can go on the internet and see pictures of this. This is kind of famous.
It's a great thing, isn't it?
Yeah. It was on the intro to Crazy Train, right?
I don't know what to call it.
Ba-dum.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. Well,
nice.
I mean, it's got other uses, obviously, but
well,
pretty cool.
You know, and the vibratone being pitched and the vibra slap being unpitched.
Right.
Speaking of which.
Yes.
And now moving on, what else do we have?
Let's see.
We've been seeing more and more cajones lately.
Cajones. I wish, yeah.
That's that wooden box people sit on and kind of slap with their hands.
Yeah, that you sit on it and slap it with your hands, and it's hollow and with a hole, so it projects outward, and you know.
And one side has a snare on it.
Yes, one side, yeah.
So you can actually get a kick snare kind of feel from it a little bit.
Yeah, pretty cool. Those have been around a lot. Also, idiophones. Unpitched idiophones, cymbals, right? Chimes would actually be pitched idiophones. Steel drums are classified as idiophones, pitched idiophones. Yeah, so there's all kinds out there.
But you know, we'll see some crossover because a lot of these are wood, metal, or both. You know.
Yeah.
And real quick, let me see here. I mean, they say that the cymbal is unpitched, but listen to this. That's my crash cymbal.
Yeah.
Are you hearing?
So,
it should be like all pitched because there's a whole bunch of noise.
There's a whole bunch of noise. My understanding of how cymbals are manufactured they're manufactured in circular little rings that kind of spiral out from each other. Every one of these rings being tuned to a different pitch.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So that you get this sort of white noise.
They don't want to influence the other pitches going on. They just want to.
This is a good chance to mention pitched versus unpitched. So like there are instruments like the triangle or the gong or something like that, in which there's a pitch element. We don't think of them as pitched idiophones unless the pitched element is part of the musicality.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So you're not going to play a melody on a triangle, right? Or on the vibratone over here, right? It's just that one pitch.
Yeah.
So we don't consider, even though it's making a pitch, we don't really consider it a pitched percussion instrument unless you're actually playing melodies and chords and stuff.
Got it.
Like on a marimba or a xylophone or
melodies.
Yeah.
Chords. Okay. All right. Well, and then next we have metallophones.
Metallophones.
Speaking of, this is a kind of a subcategory.
Sort of a subcategory of idiophones. They're just things that are made with metal. It's typically the instruments with metal bars that are struck. So you're talking about vibraphone, glockenspiel, celeste, all those kind of things. Gamelan, that's interesting. So the gamelan is actually an ensemble, not an instrument.
It's interesting. It's a Havanese instrument that kind of looks like a bunch of cooking pots with lids on them.
Yeah, but there's all kinds of different cymbals and gongs and chimes and stuff in a typical gamelan.
Yeah.
So it's an instrument / ensemble.
Right.
Yeah. It's an interesting little thing. Handbells, tubular bells, chimes.
Okay, so it looks like metallophones kind of imply pitched.
Kind of.
Because I didn't see cymbals or under this category, right?
Right. I mean, I'll tell you something I've learned over the years is that you can really bog down in categorization. Mm-hmm. And pretty quickly, you start reaching a law of diminishing returns into how useful this further categorization and subcategorization gets.
Sure, yeah.
Right? Because you could really super bog down on it, super hard. And it gets to the point, it feels like, where it's like, okay, look, as long as you understand what the instrument is doing, you don't really have to categorize it exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Right,
I don't think I've ever heard the word idiophone before I started doing this research here.
Right.
Speaking of which.
Yeah.
But we can move on, speaking of our categories.
Speaking of categories, so there are chordophones.
Chordophones, yes, sir.
Any instrument where a stretched, vibrating string produces the primary sound.
Okay.
So harps, guitars, dulcimers, banjos, mandolins, this also would include the piano, which a metal hammer strikes a string, right? The harpsichord, where a plectrum strikes the string. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But not the celeste, because that's an idiophone.
Right, because it's not a string that's vibrating with a celeste. It's a metal key.
The celeste looks like a piano, but instead of a hammer striking a string, it's actually striking
a metal key.
A metal bar, yeah.
Yeah, metal bar, yeah.
Okay. And these are good. These are just subcategories of all the instruments we're talking about here, just to kind of get you familiar with these cool terms.
Yes.
And then next we have membranophones.
Membranophones.
Yeah.
Any instrument that produces sound via a vibrating membrane. Mm-hmm. So think drums. Think of the drum kit. Mm-hmm. Frame drums, timpani, congas, bongos, single drums.
Such as
the djembe, which is an African drum. Mm-hmm. The doumbek, which is Middle Eastern, I believe. Yeah. The taiko, which is Japanese. Mm-hmm. The tabla, which is Indian. Mm-hmm. And finally, the kazoo.
Yeah, the kazoo of all things.
The kazoo.
Yeah, how about that? Because in the kazoo, there's that little kind of teeny tiny little flap of what seems like wax paper or something like that.
Right.
And the flapping of that little thing is actually what's hitting the thing. So that is technically a membrane.
Technically a membrane.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and then finally we have aerophones.
Aerophones, instruments that rely on the vibration of air. Mm-hmm. So your brass section, tubas, trombones, trumpets, horns. And your reed section, oboes, which are double reeds, clarinets, which are single reeds, bassoons, saxophones, but also pipe and reed organs, accordions, concertinas, even bagpipes.
Right.
Even the ocarina and the Australian didgeridoo.
A beautiful instrument.
Beautiful instrument, oh yeah.
Very interesting instrument.
Indeed.
Buzzy.
Indeed.
But those are the main ones,
Yes.
And I want to go ahead and submit one more, if you would. I call them humanophones. Foot stomps, knee slaps, hand claps, toe taps, ham boning.
Yeah.
Thumping your cheek and making your mouth go walk. Wait here.
Yeah. Would that be a subcategory of idiophone? No.
Yes. I think
where you're the thing vibrating.
Yeah, yes. Definitely. That would make us idiophones.
That would make us, idiot phones.
Idiot phones, yeah, totally. I would say that about mankind. Except for the listeners,
Right.
for our good show here.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Much smarter than us.
Now, some of these, like we said, some of these instruments are pitched and some unpitched, right?
Right.
And this discussion will mainly revolve around the membranophones and the idiophones, both pitched and unpitched.
Right.
And then for the humanophones, we'll talk about maintenance and care. Just take care of your body as your doctors recommend, right?
Right.
Don't beat yourself up physically or mentally.
Yeah, try to get plenty of sleep, drink water. You know the drill.
Exactly. But if I think it makes the most sense to cover these instruments based on the material that they're using.
That makes sense.
Because then we can tie in the maintenance thing.
Right, yeah.
If we can. So I'm going to start off with wooden instruments.
Wooden instruments.
We already discussed, we talked about this in our strings episode, and, woodwinds, anything we talked about with wood.
Yeah.
In general, wood instruments like to be cleaned regularly, polished, or even conditioned in some cases. And
Indeed.
Kept in treated wood-friendly environments.
Absolutely.
AKA 72 degrees Fahrenheit, 22 degrees Celsius, that is.
Yep.
And 44 to 55% humidity.
Kind of like us.
Very much like
we
us.
prefer 72 degrees, about 50% humidity.
Very much like us. But let me start off with the drum shells.
Okay.
Most commonly, drum shells are made of birch, beech, maple, or oak.
Right.
They use several plies or thinly cut sheets of wood stacked on each other.
Right.
The wood grain of the outer shell is usually running horizontally, and the plies from there are stacked with alternating horizontal and vertical grains.
Right.
Isn't that interesting? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
It makes sense. Because otherwise it might be too resonant.
Yeah.
You're throwing a little bit of chaos into the vibration.
It would start to sound like a pitch, right?
Yeah, totally. And even though a lot of toms have a recommended pitch you tune to, like some toms you tune to C, it's still kind of considered unpitched.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it is just one pitch per instrument. That's my guess. That's my theory. Anyways, this is kind of like, this kind of works like the body of an acoustic guitar, these shells. Mm-hmm. You know, how can you explain that?
The body of an acoustic guitar. So what happens is the sound goes into the hole, bounces all around in that empty, hollow wooden body, and then reverberates out of the hole. So the hole is sort of a natural amplifier. It gets sort of a projection out of that.
Mm-hmm. And then the actual body itself is vibrating too, sending vibrations out there.
Clear. Yeah, absolutely.
So same thing's kind of happening here. Now, needless to say, this is the sound of your drums, especially the kick and the toms.
Yeah.
These shells. If not given proper care and maintenance, these shells could crack or warp.
Yeah.
And they may be more difficult to tune and or just not sound. They're full of potential in that case.
Yeah, ask any percussionist what the pain and frustration of having a warped drum head is like.
I know what the pain and frustration of having a warped drummer is like. But you'll have to ask a drummer.
We need one here.
I know if we had a drummer, we could get our drum fills on all of our jokes.
Yeah, right?
We'll invite Brian down next time.
Yeah, Brian, your presence is requested.
Hey, Matt. Give us some tips on cleaning and maintenance on these drum shells.
So according to sweetwatermusic.com, regularly wipe them down with a microfiber cloth. Even a paper towel can be abrasive and abrasive enough to leave scratches.
I do want to back up a second, though. And I'm not trying to go against Sweetwater because I love those people, you know? But I do remember that we were talking about the guitars and cleaning the wood on those things.
Yep.
And a lot of people were recommending against my microfiber cloths because they can pick up particles, little dust particles, and that can actually end up scratching some of the things.
Oh, that makes sense.
Now, maybe the drums are a little bit more robust than they're meant to be beaten. But when we're talking about the outside shell, I don't know.
I'll
let you guys
send us your comments.
Yeah, make your own judgment on that, but just know that is a thing about microfiber cloth.
Yeah. Wow. I've always used a microfiber cloth with, not any real problem that I've noticed. Now, maybe I just got lucky. But, I also sort of keep my microfiber cloth in my case where it's unlikely to pick up a whole lot of dust and stuff. Don't just leave it laying around.
Sure.
On the counter or something.
Good point. Yeah,
So there you go.
If you do use microfiber, keep it in a safe
Keep it in a safe, clean, dust-free environment.
if there's such a thing exists.
Yeah. So for glossy finishes, consider using a little drum polish on occasion. Mainly cosmetic, but it does make your drums all nice and shiny.
When my instrument looks its best, I feel my best when I wear it. And
Absolutely.
when I feel my best, maybe I sound a little better. Who knows?
Yeah, I think we probably do. Who knows?
Yeah.
If you're on a budget, you can get by with any non-abrasive furniture polish. Also, when replacing heads, go ahead and wipe down the bearing edges and the inside of the shell with a soft cloth.
So that's kind of the rim of the drum itself.
Right.
And some sites recommend conditioners on the edges, such as paraffin wax, beeswax, or even chapstick in a pinch.
In a pinch, yeah.
So how does this help the tone, do you think, Matt?
I don't know, other than it probably... I could see it maybe helping the tone be a little more resonant. You know?
Yeah, because I think it seals the connection more.
Yeah.
It seals the connection between the wood and the
seals the
skin.
connection better.
Between the wood and the head.
Yeah, so you're getting more of a resonant, nice pop, and it doesn't sort of... It's not as maybe floppy as and it just helps. It just helps the lifespan of your drum too. You know, that head has to be stretched over the top, right? So keeping those things dust free and shiny, will help them live better and keep that thing stretched better. So
Thusly sound better, probably, huh?
Absolutely, yeah.
Now, getting into storage, you got to try and keep them in environments that are around 70 degrees Fahrenheit and between 40 and 60% humidity range. 45 to 55% humidity being optimal, right?
Right.
More extreme environments can lead to warping or cracking.
And you don't want that.
Nah. Use cases if you're storing or transporting them.
Definitely use cases.
I've seen many soft shell and hard shell cases.
Oh, absolutely.
And just remember the pet child rule, as I call it, right?
Right. Extend it to instruments. Don't leave it in the hot car.
Don't leave these things anywhere you wouldn't leave your pet or your child.
Right.
As you said, the hot car, the hot sun, or any combination of the two, right?
Yep.
That can lead to the melting of the glue or bubbling within the wrap.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Now, similar cylindrical wood instruments like the congas, bongos, baron, frame drum, and even the tambourine would appreciate the same cleansing and environmental courtesies.
Oh, sure.
And most of these instruments are also membranophones, right?
Yeah.
Now, if anyone's curious, the distinction between the conga and the bongo.
Right.
So the congas are the really big ones. You see them on a stand, usually in pairs.
Yeah.
And they make a lot more noise and a lot more projection.
Right.
The bongos are the little ones.
The little tiny ones you can sit in your lap with.
Yeah, little dudes, little dealies.
Yep. Fun stuff.
Now, moving on, we have like a similar deal. We have wood blocks and wooden and gourd shakers, castanets, the guiro, and other similar instruments don't have a lot of moving parts.
Right.
So really just a proper wipe down on occasion should be plenty.
Absolutely.
Just get the dust off of them.
Yeah.
If it's a nice enough wood, put some polish on it if you want to.
Right, yeah.
Now, xylophones and marimbas use wooden bars that are coated with a paint or a finish that protects them from humidity.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But still, we recommend keeping them in humidity-safe environments.
Yeah.
As previously discussed.
Yeah, I'm sure they protect it from humidity within reason, right? It doesn't just,
Yes, I'm sure in the wrong circumstances, like you were talking about. Didn't you say you had a bass that was sweating at some point or something?
Oh, yeah. That was one of my favorite stories ever.
Well, sweat can bust through the lacquer on a bass. I'm sure it can on some of this finishing on these.
You bet,
these
yeah.
Things.
That was just the craziest thing that ever happened.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Story time, Matt. Relive that real quick. Why not?
Well, okay. So it was just I was playing with a friend of mine, and he lived about an hour away at the time from where I was living. And so this was like the 90s. My car didn't even have tinted windows or anything. I put my bass in his case, threw it in the back of the car, drove up there. I don't know. We might not have gotten straight to practicing or something. But anyway, when I got my bass out and up the case out, my bass was sweating. There was this moisture that had collected along the body of the bass, right sort of right above the pickup, right?
And this wasn't condensation.
No, we thought it was condensation. We got a rag and wiped it off, and when we wiped it off, a little more bubbled out. So we spent about 10 minutes just kind of wiping the sweat off, and it eventually quit. It was in the air conditioning at that point. It eventually quit, and picked it up and I played it, and it seemed okay.
Gracious.
But yeah, that was craziness. I'll never forget that.
You don't want that to happen to anything you play.
Really don't.
Or anything. Back to xylophones.
Back to xylophones.
And marimbas. These are both wooden things.
Yes.
Dust gathering and oily fingerprints aren't great for the paint either.
Mm-mm.
So if you see any of that gathering up, wipe it off with a soft, damp cloth, and you may not need to involve a furniture polish every time. However, a deep cleaning is recommended every year. In which case, you remove the individual wooden bars and place them on a soft towel if you're going to store it, and don't stack them as they can damage the finish.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. The funny thing is, these are made to take a hit, right?
Yeah, they're made to take a hit. They're just not made to take, the subtle griminess of humid climes and, your grubby fingers all over them.
Exactly. Matt, do you want to elaborate a little bit more on this deep cleaning process?
So get some rubber gloves.
Uh-huh.
Wipe off all 6 sides. Remove dirt, oil, debris with a wood cleaner.
This is after you've removed the bars, right?
Right. Yep. Then use a fresh rag to apply your furniture polish. Mm-hmm. There are others who've used Murphy's oil, like a solution of Murphy's oil and water. Mm-hmm. Once you're done with that, give them a final wipe to buff them a little, and you should be good.
Okay.
If you're storing them, wrap them in a towel with a layer of cloth between them. While the bars are off, go ahead and wipe down the wood box and or frame, while you're there.
Mm-hmm, sure.
Right. With a similar process. Never use rubbing alcohol. And stay away from metallic mallets. That's a real one. I've seen composers request metallic mallets on a marimba before, and the percussionist say, "I'm not doing that."
Yeah, right. No kidding.
Yeah, because it'll chip those bars.
Sure.
It's like, and they'll say, "I'm not doing that. That will damage my instrument."
So, and that'll mess with the sound. So you'll see wooden mallets, maybe plastic, rubber, hard rubber.
Yeah.
Mallets. Yarn or cloth mallets.
Yeah, you really kind of have to be a percussionist to become a mallet expert. But there's all kinds. There's like soft and hard and medium hard, and there's like the cloth mallets, and then there's the rubber ones, and then there's wooden. Like drumsticks and yeah.
If you ever see a percussion setup, take a peek inside that stick bag. Ask him to show you that stick bag and see what they got in there.
Brushes, they got brushes in there and
things that fan out, things that fan in.
Yeah.
All kinds of things. Anyway. So let's move into the metal instrument, shall we?
Yes.
We're going to include hardware and cymbals for the drum kits in this segment.
Okay.
So let's just go ahead and begin with that. Even though it's not an instrument, it is part of the care.
It's part of the care, yeah.
Regarding the hardware, I've seen and owned many a rusty drum stand, and a hi-hat stand and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. Cymbal stands. You can avoid this by polishing them regularly and give the moving parts like tension rods or wing nuts a little drop of oil and then move them around just a little bit.
Yeah.
And also use cases or bags like we talked about. And don't store them or transport them in the same bags as your shells, obviously.
Do people do that?
I mean, probably some like crazy punk rock people who just don't care. The kind of people that set their guitars on fire. And
yeah, maybe so. If people set their guitars on fire, then
maybe they want a patina on their drums. Now, drum hoops, also metal, and the tension rods should also be polished whenever you can. Mm-hmm. This might be a good thing to do when you're changing heads or just on a regular basis,
Right, yeah.
To assure equal tension when tuning, get all the rods finger tight and then proceed to tighten each rod as you would a hubcap.
Yeah, I've seen drummers do that.
So how's that done, Matt?
Oh, I mean, they'll hit it and they'll tighten and then hit it and tighten and then hit it and tighten. Like going around clockwise.
Mm-hmm. But if you could,
each one of the,
if you can imagine the hubcap scenario, what you do is if you're on a clock, if you're looking at a clock, you adjust 6 o'clock, then you adjust 12 o'clock.
12 o'clock, you're right.
Then you adjust 1 o'clock, then you adjust 7 o'clock.
Right, yeah.
2 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock.
So tension doesn't concentrate on one area at any point. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, so anyways, consider using a hoop protector on that kick drum also where the pedal bites into it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
So that's something I didn't have to think about. But I guess you can get like little kind of guards, maybe plastic or hard rubber guards.
Yeah.
So you're not bending the hoop of your kick drum.
Yeah, so you're not beating directly onto the kick drum all the time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Matt.
Yes, sir.
What do you know about how cymbals should be cleaned and polished?
I know they should be cleaned and polished on a regular basis.
Oh, yeah?
Manufacturers will add a coating to prevent them from corroding in the warehouse.
Mm-hmm.
But after you smacked them a few hundred times,
Right.
that coating wears off. So to clean them, most people will just wipe their fingerprints and drumstick dust with a little soft microfiber cloth.
Mm-hmm.
If you need extra care, use some warm water and soap with a rag, just to be sure to dry it off well.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
There is a polish that is specific to cymbals, and it's recommended as household metal cleaners could be too much, right? You know, so because your cymbals are kind of sensitive. You know, they're a lot more sensitive than the chain on your bike, or you know.
It's true.
I would just put a pea-sized drop on the cymbal and rub it in, radial motion along the grooves.
Okay.
Right. Avoid the logo if you want to preserve the logo.
Yeah, right.
And remove the polish with a dry cloth.
Yeah, I think key to all these, be it cymbals, be it hardware, be it metallophones, dry that off after you polish it, because
Always dry it off. Don't let it sit there, because
water will do the worst thing to it.
yeah, water is bad for most musical instruments.
Turns out.
Yeah.
I thought a funny tip in marimbas and vibraphones was don't set your drink on it.
Don't be.
Yeah, all right. I don't know how much those things cost, but I bet they're not cheap, right?
They cost enough that nobody wants you sitting your drink on it.
Now, similar to the marimbas and the xylophones is the vibraphones and the glockenspiels.
Right.
The vibraphones, if you look at them, they look kind of like the marimbas. They're bigger. They span a few octaves.
Right.
They all have pipes under each block that kind of resonates the tone of the block.
Right.
The vibraphone has these cool little kind of flaps that rotate like a little fan. So if you turn on vibraphone, if you click on the button, this little electric thing comes on.
Yeah, they make that really cool vibraphony sound.
Yeah.
A little fast.
So the bars on these instruments are usually some alloy coated with silver or gold finish.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to avoid moisture again.
Yep.
Clean them weekly with a light solution of soap and water and dry them off immediately.
Yep.
Don't let them air dry. Just dry them right off.
Dry them right off.
And again, stay away from metallic mallets.
Yeah.
What good are those things, Matt? When do you use those things? Have you ever seen them?
When can you use metallic mallets? I mean, I think you can use them on a glockenspiel.
Maybe for a cool band name.
Metallic mallets.
Yeah. Okay, I can see that. Glockenspiel.
Glockenspiel.
Yeah, I don't know, though.
Maybe those things just aren't a good idea.
Just stay away from those things altogether.
Just stay away from those.
We'll
if you want a good hard percussive sound, use rubber mallets. Yeah, because you can get those hard rubber mallets that'll get a good poppy sound out of things, right?
Sure.
It won't be a warm fuzzy sound like with the cloth mallet. It'll be a bang, kind of.
Yeah. I don't want it to be too sharp.
Steel drums, maybe you can do metallic mallets.
Okay, maybe so. They're all beat up looking anyways.
Most of them.
Anyways, so the resonators, which are those tubes I was talking about, can be cleaned with a few blasts of canned air on occasion.
Right.
And I would imagine the same for the fan and the valves, you know.
I bet you could also use metallic mallets on unpitched idiophones, like brake drums, and brake drums and stuff like that.
Maybe so. I don't know. Maybe something with a skin membrane or a plastic.
That seems like it would tear
plastic membrane. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's we're
Because
having.
brake drums are like a standard percussion instrument now. Like they're literally the casing that holds the brakes on your car.
Huh.
People have taken them off and used them is
I have not seen that. No, I have not.
Michael Giacchino had 3 percussionists beating on an actual wing of an airplane for the soundtrack to the show Lost. Back at you remember that show?
No kidding.
Yeah, he had for part of the first few episodes he had percussionists actually beating on the actual wing of an airplane.
All right.
Yeah. I figure that could probably handle some metallic mallets.
Maybe so. That's pretty amazing. That's cool.
Yeah.
I like those little Easter eggs.
Yeah.
Moving on. Check them regularly for foreign objects that might affect the sound. Sometimes little things can fall into those resonators.
Yeah, and you'll know it.
Yeah, you'll know it. It might make a drastic difference. It might make a slight difference. But either way, check them, blast them with canned air.
Yep.
In temperatures beyond their comfort zone, for example, 73 degrees Fahrenheit.
Right.
Resonators may need to be moved closer to or further from the bars,
Right.
for tuning. So these bars are held by suspension cords, which should also be checked on occasion for fraying
Right.
and wear and tear.
Right.
Now, we also have bells and chimes as a part of these metallophones,
Yes.
and they can be cleaned with a soft cloth and just steer clear of chemicals. Not a lot to say about that.
Chimes.
Yeah?
Definitely use metallic mallets.
Okay.
I'm like 90% sure of that you absolutely need metallic mallets for chimes because non-metallic mallets wouldn't get the projection out of them.
I see. Okay.
So chimes are, and when we're talking about chimes, we're talking about that set of things, right? The set of big, huge brass cylinders,
Yes.
like Tchaikovsky used at the end of 1812 Overture, right? And they're arranged like a keyboard in an octave, and you hit them with mallets and make different.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, those metallic mallets. Got it. Yeah.
Cool.
Proud of myself for figuring.
So we're not talking about the thing that you drag your finger across.
No. Those are wind chimes, I think. I think that those are called wind chimes. No, when orchestra people at least refer to chimes, they're talking about these big, huge things on this big wooden frame that's like
And you say they're laid out like a...
out like a keyboard,
okay,
yeah.
okay.
With the accidental keys and the natural keys and...
Well, then I guess any selection of mallets would be good, but ultimately metallic mallets. Huh?
Ultimately, I think metallic mallets are what's going on with the chimes.
Okay, so go nuts with those then, huh?
Yeah.
In terms of storage, they can be stored upright in a cool, dry room.
Mm-hmm.
And keep keep an eye on those suspending cords, wear and tear.
Yeah.
Cool. Now let's move on to membranophones.
Membranophones.
You say soprano, I say soprano.
Yeah.
I say
Membranophones, whatever.
So drumheads, according to Remo, Windex or 409 without bleach will suffice on the clear drumheads specifically.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Now for coated heads, like you see the snare, the white coated heads.
Yeah.
And also mesh heads, which you normally see on the electric drum kits.
Right.
Just use light soap and water solution with cloth.
Yeah.
In either case, avoid spraying water or pouring water on the drum head.
Yeah, especially if you have an electric drum kit.
And I wonder if that's also just because you don't want the water to seep into where the hardware is and start
Absolutely,
rusting
yeah.
it from the inside.
That would cause problems.
Rotting wood.
Yeah, you don't want that.
Water. No good for instruments. No
Nope.
good. And then for storage, reduce the tension of the tension rods by about a half of what they were. This includes the orchestral bass drum. So for all the drum cells, toms, kick, snare, when you're storing them, they recommend that you do this. Release the tension by about a half.
Yeah.
But not such the case with timpani or kettle drums.
No, because that's not just a set tension thing. So the timpani, you can tune them to notes, right? You tune them to specific notes.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a little pedal, and when you press down the pedal, the drum head tightens. Yeah. That's always a fun thing to do. And then so it gets to a certain tension level where it's tuned to a specific note.
Mm-hmm.
So there's really no concept of like take the tension halfway off, right? I mean, it's kind of designed to stay there.
Yeah.
So.
They recommend that you wipe down the bowl and the heads with a soft cloth and avoid chemicals, of course.
Right.
And pedals should be left in the pedal down position to hold the tension, like you were saying.
Right, yeah.
And one of my favorite examples of timpani is on, was it the 2010 soundtrack, or who was that, Stravinsky?
You mean 2010: A Space Odyssey? Yeah, so that was Thus Spake Zarathustra.
Yeah.
And I believe it was Orff
Mm-hmm.
that did that.
But when it goes bum bum, then you hear
Bum 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 bum.
Is that like 1-5-1-5-1-5?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's what I thought. Very much a part of the music.
Oh yeah.
Love it. Hey, Matt.
Yes, sir.
What do you know about bongos and balrons and that kind of stuff?
I know that they're awesome. I love them.
Agreed.
I know that for such instruments, all these sort of skin-based drum heads, old damp cloth method, right? Just
Tried and true.
yeah, wet a cloth and wring it out really good so it's just kind of damp. Run it over the drum head, run it over the rim. Dampness is not as important on things like the djembes or probably doumbeks with thinner skin heads. I have seen some recommend shea butter or hand lotions. That probably makes them feel really cool and smell really nice.
Yeah.
If that's important to you, hey, go for it. Get some on your hands, lightly coat the head. Yeah, it's a win for the drum. It's a win for your hands.
Yep.
Yeah.
Your hands look better.
Yeah,
younger.
yeah. Your drum looks better, smells nice. Hey, that thing, you're going to be holding that thing for a while if you're playing a gig, right? It might as well smell nice. At least begin the night smelling nice.
Absolutely.
After a day or so, wipe off excess oils. Some drums, like the bodhrán, which is Irish and Celtic traditional drum.
Yeah,
right?
you've seen it. It's kind of like a pizza-sized drum that you hold with one hand,
a
and
little
you have
double-sided mallet on the other. Yeah. They have those things have tunable models and non-tunable models.
According to Kaolis.org, which is a reputable Celtic music site,
Yes.
if yours is the latter, so if your bodhrán is
Not tunable.
not tunable and too loose, then you can try a dry heat like a hair dryer or a heating pad.
Yeah.
And back in the day, they probably just held it up to a campfire.
Oh, wow, yeah.
But you don't want it to be too hot, and they recommend putting your hand in between the source of the heat and the drum itself.
That's cool.
So if it's too hot for your skin, it's probably too hot for the skin of the drum.
I have a question. Would you say the tunable or the non-tunable versions are the more common?
I say that if you buy it from Locker in the Morning or something like that, like the one I have hung up on my wall even is tunable.
Wow, okay.
But the more professional ones I've seen are tunable.
Okay, so the non-tunable ones are sort of the beginner version.
Probably so.
Okay, and if you're a professional playing in an Irish band or something, you're going to want yourself a tunable bodhrán.
Because I've played in enough Irish bands and seen some serious bodhrán players end up getting the good stuff. They've all been tunable, but that's just my experience.
That makes sense.
I don't want to jump to that. But you do, it's obviously easier to tune them than it is to sit there and hold it in front of a hairdryer,
Yeah.
And likewise, if it's like too tight, you can apply a little bit of moisture or oil to the skin.
Yeah.
But on a fixed or untunable drum like that, do so prudently because these are permanent changes. It'll permanently loosen the skin.
Yeah.
Maybe
and then make it sound all floppy.
Or maybe you have to go back and forth between fire and lotion. And by then it's like, just get it.
You don't want to get yourself into a vicious circle here.
Exactly. Okay, Matt, so we're just about wrapped up on this, man.
Awesome.
The elephant in the room, though, is obviously the piano.
The piano,
It has wood, strings, metal hardware, hammers acting as mallets.
Yep.
I think that the consensus is that the piano is actually, like you said, a percussion instrument.
I heard a great saying once, truism, that said, knowledge is knowing that a tomato is a fruit. Wisdom is not putting it in your fruit salad.
Oh, dude, I like that.
Right? So knowledge is knowing that a piano is, strictly speaking, a percussion instrument. It has hammers that hit strings. It's a percussion instrument. Wisdom is not asking a percussionist to go play piano.
Hey, all right.
Right? Obviously, pianists are instrumentalists of their own right. There are people who learn to play the piano, and there are different people who learn to play percussion. Right? So, I mean, there are definitely percussionists who can play some piano. But
chime players, for example, marimba players.
Right, yeah. So piano is strictly speaking a percussion instrument, but, exude a little wisdom in, how you relate to the piano.
Well, for example, I remember going to percussion music ensembles a lot when I was a student at UAB, and you've probably been to about 20 times as many of those at this point.
A lot.
Do they ever have pianos in the percussion ensembles?
sometimes, but they got one of the piano students to play it.
Okay.
Yeah, rather than having the percussion players try to play it, they would often get piano students to come play it.
Now, in the School of Music, percussion players have to pass the piano proficiency exam.
Oh, we all do.
Yeah. So they at least have a little bit of a lead on that.
Yeah, so they will have some piano skills. But, you know, I mean, if it's anything particularly complicated on the piano, you know, I would ask a pianist.
And which we actually did an episode on the piano with Matthew Dutot-Slocum.
I remember that.
And that was a really good episode. And we got into maintenance and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but
so maybe go check out that episode.
Yeah, and just a quick recap, just to have it all in one-stop shopping. Really, when it comes to pianos, you really are better off just getting somebody to come in twice a year.
Yeah, there are professionals whose whole trade is the care and maintenance and tuning of pianos.
And that's the short answer. Yeah, keep it clean. Yep. They have these little special kind of damp, like these little bars, kind of like you stretch it out at the bottom of the piano. And kind of it's like a little heated bar.
Yeah, I've seen those.
The piano a certain amount of humidity, and you can do that kind of thing. Polish the wood, clean off the keys.
Yeah,
I wouldn't fool around on the inside too much, honestly.
I don't like to.
Nah.
I don't like to.
Kind of intimidating in there. And then finally, I'm going to say that I think that the MVP of this entire episode is a damp, soft cloth.
Absolutely.
It seems like when it comes to metal, wood, all those things,
it's kind of like a doctor recommending get enough sleep. You know, it's hard to really go wrong with. Yeah.
Wipe it down, dry it off, rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
Dust ain't fun. Dust ain't good.
Mm-mm.
Fingerprints, they have uric acid in them, which is a corrosive. All those things you got to take into account.
Right.
It isn't as organic as having to clean the woodwinds. When I say
That's
organic,
fun.
I mean organic matter.
Yeah, right.
It's mainly like I say, drum dust. I say
drum dust.
Whenever we're recording, sometimes you'll hit the rim, or sometimes you'll hit something, and big explosion of drum dust goes everywhere.
Little cloud comes off.
And then you got to clean that off. But yeah, man, I learned more about percussion than I thought I would.
Oh yeah,
Just
and we should
looking
have a
into this.
percussionist come play in here sometime.
That would be fun.
Yeah. I bet I could drum that up.
Look at that. One good dad joke before we get out of here.
One good. Yeah.
Oh, but also before we get out of here, you know how I like to...
We've got some sources.
Some sources, exactly.
Yep.
And some of these you've heard before.
Yep.
Encyclopediabritannica.com is just my go-to for all these little things.
Absolutely.
There's no one article I would cite. I would just,
Just head over there.
recommend it as a reliable source.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Cleanmyinstrument.com.
Very good.
The article is How to Clean Xylophone Bars Without Ruining Them by Josh Olswanger.
Nice.
And then, and we'll link all these on the website, of course.
Absolutely.
Sweetwatermusic.com. Now, I've been waiting to credit these people because I love Sweetwater music.
Everybody loves Sweetwater. If you're a musician, you love Sweetwater. It's just...
And if you don't use Sweetwater, I'm not trying to steer you away from any other places, but check out Sweetwater. They give you free tech support for anything you get.
It's
free tech support.
Really kind of awesome.
And my salesman has been with me for 25, 30 years since I graduated college. So
wow,
it's a pretty solid setup over there.
Yeah, really.
The article I found was Drum Set Care and Maintenance Guide, and that was by staff over at Sweetwater.
Nice.
And then, of course, Yamaha.com. There was a great article called Off-Season Maintenance and Care for Percussion Instruments by Troy C. Woolwich. Woolwich. Yeah, so there are my sources. I will stand by them.
This has been a very enlightening episode.
I would say so. Oh, we forgot about the steering wheel, didn't we?
Yeah.
When I'm steering, my fist is the kick. I actually smack. I'm not going to use my feet on the pedals for kicking hi-hat. That's just a bad idea.
Yeah.
I'm smacking with my fist, the actual right side of the so 2 o'clock position.
Yeah.
And then same hand opens up, and that's my snare. Same position.
Nice.
The other hand is doing hi-hat work, which is funny because that's my left hand. But I'm not a great drummer anyway, so what difference does it make to me?
I can't play drums at all, so.
Anyways, we're looking forward to the next one, y'all. We'll figure out what it's going to be, but it's going to be good.
We'll see you soon.
Peace, love, and music.
Now that your instruments are all shiny and looking their best, get out there and play them. For ways to support us, visit the donate page on our website at musicstudent101.com. Check out our merchandise at redbubble.com/musicstudent101. Whatever platform you're listening on, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. And as always, you can reach us at info@musicstudent101.com.